In this instalment of videos, I'm gonna try and explain how I do some of the effects, as you can see here with the rust spots, some additions on the blast marks, which I've left this one because this one still needs to be completed, as does this one. Also some of the streaking, some of the discoloration and other bits and pieces. Some of the shading, chipping. Okay, this section of the lower hull has been done really just to show what I've done. There's still some work in progress on here, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to show you in certain videos the basis for what techniques that I use in general, which are quite, for me, quite simple. With the right materials, and they're just everyday materials and paints that you can get from the web, art craft shops, places like that. Okay, so once again, enjoy, and I'll try and explain as much as I can as I go along. So on this side you can see that we've got none of the additional details. Okay, so the whole object of that was to miss the rest of this section out and the front, so that we could just do this bit and then work our way around. And the first thing that I need to do is to get a sort of a rusty, dirty colour to sit in the recesses of the pits and everything, and for that I'm using the Winsor & Newton burnt sienna and just some normal white spirit or turpentine, whatever you prefer. And we're only just using just a tiny little bit on the end of the brush like that, and then we mix that into the turpentine. And what that does is, I'll bring that around and show you, just gives it a bit of a dirty look to it. Okay, and then it just starts to brush it on. Now, you may think that it's not doing a great deal, but it's actually starting to add a foundation down to stuff that I'm going to be doing next. So, let's say we're coating this on in all the areas like so. Making sure that everything's coated. Don't swamp it so that it's all dripping all over the place. That's the last thing that you want. You just want it so that it sinks in to the areas that we're going to be doing. Now I've missed off these thrust things here purely because of clamping, but that'll be done later, so I'm not too worried about that. Right, continue adding that. And one of the things I do, I don't do the whole thing in one go. There's absolutely no point in doing that. Me personally anyway, just do one bit at a time, one section, concentrate on. Okay, so that's all generally been given a bit of a light wash. Okay, now that tends to start drying out and that will sink in, and the next thing that we need to do is we just need to darken that up slightly more So we add a bit more sienna. And then once we've got that mixed, I want to start adding that into more the refined areas. And the beauty about this is as well, you want it to streak down to give it that running rustic look, but you don't want it to create puddles, if that makes sense. So once you've got it in the areas that you want, should do it a bit more up here in this area. This will actually dry out quite quick. So, the beauty about it is with the base paints, the Halford's colours, it should, or it doesn't, not whether it should, it doesn't, because I know this, doesn't attack the paint underneath. So, a bit more there, a bit more there, get rid of those. Okay, and once you've allowed that to dry, we'll then come back and we'll start to add a few other details. Okay, so there's a couple of photographs that are going to come after this just to show you the effect, because the amount of lighting in here at the moment doesn't look that massively effective, but it matches that up quite nicely. Okie doke. Right, but that's not thoroughly dried, and we don't want it to thoroughly dry out, because what we want to do is we want to start adding some of the rust streaks, gentle rust streaks, a bit of discoloration, once again using the old Winsor & Newton burnt sienna. Tiny equal little brush, tiny little dab on the end, and then we're just going to be more or less just gently touching small areas. Where you'll expect to see small accumulation of rust. Especially in areas down here. We don't want to overdo it. Small bits, tiny little dots. Okay, a few more. And then once again. Just taking a brush with the terps, and literally we're going to be swamping that in areas so that it tends to run through, so it looks like a rust spot rather than a blob. General areas like this, rust will run down, so we want to just generally streak that. Let me take a bit more off there. Once again, pulling that up the way that the rust is how we're going to run. Down that. I have to excuse my lack of talking, but it's because I'm concentrating. It can't be a bad thing. Okay, and the thing is, you don't want to overdo it. I know it's a hunk of junk, as they all keep on saying, but you want to go for as you want it to be realistic without it being overdone. A couple of areas. Need to add. Once again, without being too much. A little hair there, okay. Once again, deliberately put that on so that follows and follows the lines. The beauty about this is as well, if you don't like it, you can always get some clean terps and wipe all off again. Or thin it down. Okay, a little bit more there that I missed. That's about it. That should do. So, Missed one. Okie dokie, that'll do. Okay, so now we're going to let that thoroughly dry. I think that's enough rust on there at the moment. We're going to let that thoroughly dry, and once that's done that, we'll then come back and we'll start adding some different other streaks, the whites and the greys and bits and pieces, and some of the pastels and scratch marks and the dent marks.